Greetings, viewers, and welcome back to yet another action-packed and exciting episode of Habbag's Minecraft Hardcore World. Thanks for coming along, and hope you enjoyed today's ride. We'll get right back into it as we go here. So let's go ahead and get our handmade ugly slide out of the way and jump on into the game. Again, I've got my own world that I've kind of been plugging away at in the downtime while videos are loading, but don't touch our world when we're away from it. I want every bit of the action to get recorded and be available for you guys if you want to dig in. You can feel free to jump around in the videos if things like farm building or ruminations on speeches with cows aren't exactly your cup of tea. We'll have a little more action as we go today. One thing I wanted to do real fast before we get started and remind me, just telepathically into the future or past, let me know if I leave this screen up. But before we really get going, I want to note the coordinates of my base. I haven't done that yet on my little sheet. So 1 second here. So we got a negative 234 and a negative 873. I'm not going to bother to pop this onto the screen itself. You guys can see under block what I'm pulling down here. And again, that's the X coordinate first, so negative 234 and negative 873 on the Z coordinate. The Y of 72 is our height above bedrock or level 0. And again, our mine is down on level 11, so we're significantly up. Water level is going to be right around 62, 63, depending on whether you are a stickler for the actual height of the ground or what you see displayed, but that's what we've got here. So I've just made that note. If we venture forth out into the world, we want to be able to get back. Got one little enchanted leather cap here that we picked up just from our nighttime skirmishing, and that's kind of a nice thing. Not that we're ever going to use protection 1 on leather. That's not at all as good as just the plain iron helmet that we have, but worth keeping. And I think, probably what we should do to start the day today is take a turn in the mines. As you can see, our iron is getting low. If we don't happen to catch any diamond right out of the gate, then at least we can remake our iron armor before we go out and kind of do what I envision, at least for one of the episodes I record today, is a more water-based exploration. We had visited a village when we went on our donkey ride the other day, and that village kind of lies back behind our spruce forest that we've harvested some trees from in the past. But what we want to do is see how far does that land go that divides us. Is there a river or a means to float closer to that village than we are by land? Or are there other villages that are right on the coast that are accessible without a multi-day boat ride? Would be real handy to have some of that kind of stuff. So we'll see what we find as we go. For now, though, we'll just cross our fingers and hope that maybe we get a bit lucky and come across some quick and easy diamonds as we go here. Would definitely be nice to get a bit more of our armor converted over. And again, the other thing that we definitely want to do is start thinking about getting set to do our very first enchants. And we're not gonna spend a whole lot of time on that just immediately. We want to get enough levels. Right now we're at 36. We want to be sitting Up in the probably around 50. Look at that. All right, it's going to be a good day. We got some diamonds already. Like I said, we want to be up around level 50, I think, when I usually do my first enchants if I haven't found some already. So we'll see how close we get to that one. We're already at 37. Now, like most XP systems in any game you may be familiar with, in Minecraft, like all those, each time you level up, it takes more to attain your next level. You're kind of going on that growth curve as you go. So the level 36 to level 37 jump we just took is much quicker than it would be to jump from level 46 to 47. So you get some diminishing returns eventually, but basically when we first get going on enchanting, we're not gonna yet have a means to just reset our available pool of experience. And so in order to have a couple chances to get multiple enchantments in whatever it is we decide to apply, we want to have a few different possibilities on there. I can't recall if we actually had a slime in this world yet or not, but definitely nice to hear him flopping around. By the time we've kind of expanded out this area, we'll probably have quite a few of these guys, but for now, and I don't know if they're even going to let me up the stairs here. Back up, guys. Okay. So what we saw there when we first started, big old jumbo first slime, and he can definitely do some damage if he gets you cornered. He moves quickly, so he can bounce on you effectively a few times in a row and does pretty good damage when he does. The medium slimes are just that. They will do a bit less overall damage and move a bit more manageably, but they also... Sorry, I'm a little lost here, trying to get back to my latest tunnel. Okay, there's the one. Here we go. Sorry about that. So what we got from them were some of these slime balls. 10, which isn't a whole bunch, but gives us two different crafting options that are the most common. The first being, if you don't find enough of those wandering traders and effectively steal the leads from their llamas that they carry along with them, you can craft leads from a slime ball. And in our expanded crafting table, if you put them up and then extend kind of a kite shape around them in string, they'll form a lead, and you can make your own. So having that many slimes once you have some spider webs in hand is a good way to make extra leads. The other, of course, is to fill all 9 spots with slime balls, and get a slime chunk, and that's the device that becomes handy in sticky pistons and further automation and crafting, moving blocks automatically or without moving them by hand. So lots of cool stuff there. Glad we got a slime. That's good things. So not as good as the diamonds we've gotten. We just passed by our little example of the pinhole mining style that showed the last time we were down here. Fun to see that evidence as we go. But again, I particularly early on like this, and we're not going to see any major caves. We probably clipped already as we were working in our last session. This one is a little dual purposed. We know we're not probably not going to see anything here that we didn't already encounter in our last trip. but we are working underneath the farms that we created, so we're getting those further chance to grow while we're not just standing there looking at them, which is always an added bonus. And finally, we're carving the other side of what eventually can be a 5x5 section, and we can, as our tools improve and we're in more need of ready stone, we can just pop down here and start carving out the middle of this, and eventually that will become the footprint of our larger underground lair. I don't think we're going to be particularly malicious in this Minecraft world, unless we consider borrowing things from the villages we encounter, or making sure that the young cows of the world have lots of resources by taking care of their older relatives, some of those kind of things. But those are just necessities of life. We're not going to consider those particularly evil or malevolent. So, yeah, we're glad to have the 8 diamonds that we got. That definitely can improve one piece of armor for us, but while we go, it would be nice to maybe hit another pocket. Our early luck is either a sign that we shouldn't have pushed it, or an indication of things to come. Hopefully it's that latter one, and we'll get things going. But at the moment, just kind of nice to be back in the world. A little bit unplanned. I'd planned to record some episodes yesterday, which was Friday, but it ended up not really working out from this end, although I definitely was here and ready. But as I kind of talked about in a previous episode, I live in a apartment complex, and no, there weren't any further issues with the water. They seem to have done their work, and that's all good. But one of the upstairs units in my particular building seemed to have turned over. We had some people that were either moving in or moving out, based on the thumping that I was hearing from the metallic stairs that sit kind of close to my door and are a little audible. People were dragging things down those stairs with repeated thumps, heavy sounding things. So, I was definitely thinking about getting going, and then had a bump, 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 bump repeating for a good chunk of the day. And that kind of makes for not ideal recording. Again, I don't have an elaborate studio or anything like that. Just given this some initial effort and working with, what equipment I already had on hand or can patch and piece together. So we'll see how all of that ultimately works out. But what it means is, when environmental things are going on around me, I kind of got to pick my battles and let them go. But we had a great day yesterday. It was fresh snow in April, which I absolutely love. I have always lived in places with a full 4 seasons and robust winter. Most of my adult life has been spent in Colorado, and here we have what I consider relatively mild winters. It's generally fairly warm. We usually get a week of what I think of as real cold. That single digits dipping below zero, that kind of stuff for the higher temps of the day. But usually, you kind of wait that out, or pick your battles in the midst of those kind of cold snaps, and the rest of the time, temps are really mild, but we still get lots of snow here at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, and we get that over a wider range of time than some places you may, typically think of as colder and more wintry, but don't. ultimately, they have a very well-defined wintry season that, may run from late October, early November into March, or at the very latest April. But here we, kind of have to be ready for anything at any time. We just, the reality of where we live is when weather comes, if the temps are right, it can change to snow, and you can get significant snowfalls as late as May on occasion. Even, ultimately you could have snow any month of the year. Now, July, August, those are probably the least likely. But you don't have to go too far. Even on those scorcher hot August days, if you drive up to some of the high country in and around the mountain peaks above treeline, you can catch a little snow squall in the midst of a hike that you're dressed to beat the heat on. So always fun, it keeps you on your toes. But I love it when in the springtime, particularly, you get enough moisture coming through to really give you a big snowfall. Usually it's big, pretty flakes that coat stuff as they fall. The cold air typically makes for very fine, crystally snow, the dry powder that skiers love so much. But springtime, when the air has a bit more energy to it, and I'm not a meteorologist, but I love looking at and kind of thinking about weather as it's going on around us. As the sun angle increases as we move towards summer, we get more sun energy lifting more amounts of water that can then gather and fall back to the earth. So you get big, pretty snowfalls, and it's not that, it's chilly or freezing outside when you go out to enjoy it. So you can go take a walk, and aside from some slushy puddles, it's really pretty pleasant to be out in it. And while I didn't exactly play in the snow, I definitely enjoyed the more wintry scene yesterday. So good stuff. I really was glad that we got some much needed moisture out here. But again, it was consolation for not being able to create any content for you guys yesterday. I did have fresh video pop up. Hopefully sparked your interest or entertained, and now we'll keep pushing on going forward. So, as you've seen, as we've been talking about snow here, we haven't had a whole lot of diamonds, but we've gotten some nice gold, a few more pockets of iron, and some that little coal seam we just got. So, still gathering up some things, and I know last time I talked about, you push deep and then kind of gather the resources as you come back, maybe if you get to a last pick. This one, because we're so close to the tunnel we cut the last time, I got lots of stuff I want to do today, and I don't think that just constantly mining is it. So I don't mind filling up my pockets here fairly quickly, even if we don't go an extra long distance laterally. We're going to get some of the things we need to keep going. Once we fill up these last few spaces, we'll merge those picks, get one more, and ultimately, I guess we can throw that up just to have more room. Our cobble is really what's filling us up here, but I think we'll already call this one a win when we head back upstairs, and when we do go up, we'll be able to fashion whatever total amount of diamonds we get into something nice, and also cook down the fresh iron and gold that we got. So lots of good there. I mentioned as we were opening the world here that I do have another one that I kind of keep up, just to, I'd started it about the same time as this series, and not having done this recording in the past, I wanted to, just have another world to kind of, all right, what's it like to start a world? As I mentioned, I have a couple of older ones, but hadn't really done the first few days, so I was just kind of playing along outside to keep sharp, try to avoid the incidents of the desert temple that we'd seen before. But in that one, much like much like our golden apple experience, I was out on a trek to return to an earlier site, and caught an underwater structure, not a temple, but just a site next to a random village, and was poking around there, and had a couple drowned come up at me, and was taking care of them, and all of a sudden, twang, 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 there was somebody tossing tridents at me. First of those I'd encountered, and again, I'm not significantly more equipped in that world than I am in this one. They're fairly comparable in age. Every world is very different. I'm already amazed at the differences that you see as you're unfolding a couple different ones. But sure enough, first trident wielding drowned that I encountered in that world, he dropped his weapon. So well before I'm really ready to repair or equip that, I've already got a trident, which unfortunately, the only reason I know nobody wants to hear stories of worlds they haven't seen particularly, hey, let's focus on what we're sharing here together. But I mention it only to say that that probably means that it is going to be a long search before we get a trident here, and that's somewhat fitting, seeing as how we have a guardian temple right on our doorstep. This would be the world where having that item in our possession would be great. But we're not bereft of cool stuff here. We already got those diamonds, and we also got a enchanted golden shovel that I'm pretty excited about at our village. So still loads of good stuff to be thankful for as we keep pushing deeper here. Oh man, I would love to. We started out so well. I'd love to see some more goodies underground. I hear a zombie friend, and even opening up a hole to wherever he's at wouldn't be unwelcome. As I recall, we reached that. Well, no, I don't even trust my recollection. Was that on our donkey trek that we reached the ravine and kind of poked around? I think actually now it was. That was the cave that we stumbled onto. So that wasn't on the adjoining side of this tunnel. Well, just make do, but for all I know, we may have already passed the limit of our other tunnel. Although I think it seems to me we went pretty far in that first expedition. Certainly, we've gone out beyond our farm that we built. That was relatively short distance when it comes to these stretches of underground mine. It's growing in a definite direction. I may have also mentioned, I think when we start tunneling in another direction, we'll head out towards that village that we encountered with Donkey, and despite the presence of silverfish, maybe try to push out in the direction of the mountains, see if we can mine some emeralds in addition to just picking those up. Again, we will be trading for emeralds more so than we ever need them from mining. But hey, it's something that doesn't hurt to know what lies between us. Particularly, if there was an abandoned mine shaft or particularly complex ravine system, those would be definitely good things to explore underground. Mainly, we want to hope that the things that we do see stay at these lower levels. Of course, we want the gold and the diamonds and the redstone that we may encounter, and still have the opportunity for the occasional iron, like that stuff there, which that's kind of how we were looking there as we first started up this episode. We wanted to improve our armor, or at a minimum, refresh it or get it repaired a bit. So that's something we'll keep working towards. We got some lava in the area a bit, having used up our pack of torches there, frees up another inventory space, and I think at this point we may be limited more by the durability of our picks that we have than actual space to put things we find. But as it so often seems, it feels like all the excitement is always going on around us, and you hear that bubbling lava, and you go, man, we encounter that. As long as it's not over our head, it's pretty cool sounding. That may be the lava fall that we framed out a bit and had initially dealt with over on the other side. We can, if we really get interested, we can always pop through it, and it would appear, at least, that we have gone a little bit further than our original tunnel had, and that just speaks to the potential that we now have to find something new and cool underground. So at a minimum, we keep our fingers crossed for more diamond as we go, and each time I ask, I get iron instead, which I'm not going to get upset about. That's still valuable. We're definitely still at a point where we'll take every bit we can get. Got lots of uses, and now we'd heard the zombies initially. Now we're hearing some bats. It would be typical as we almost use up all our tool durability to find that we've just as we have to turn back, we reach something really cool. But for now, those remain sounds in the distance. There we go. Now, on a couple of the times that we found redstone, I've found 2 pieces and have kind of left it at that. We're not particularly looking for redstone. It's out there and it's nice to grab, particularly for the EXP, but we aren't just solely focused on getting the maximum amount that we can find. When you do see 2 pieces like we have on a few of those, it's often worth checking a couple directions. The configurations of redstone are such that you may have 4 pieces set up diagonally next to each other, and just kind of aligned in a 2, if that's one column of 2 pieces of redstone, then those 2 would be cobbled, these 2 would be cobbled, and another redstone there. So sometimes worth looking, but again, we're not looking to overstuff our pockets with redstone. We'd rather get some of these goodies, but I think this will probably be us done on this little venture. We may have a little bit of pick left by the time we get done, but we're getting pretty stuffed, and we have gotten a lot of good out of this trip. So here we go. I think we'll just drop down a floor. We do have a spot. Yeah, let's not quit. This may be the chunk that has some diamonds in it. You never know. It's the only way to find out is to keep going a little bit. And since we're down here, we'll just keep pushing until we really need to turn back. This is where, fingers crossed, the game teaches us the value of perseverance. Shows us all the good things you get if you don't just quit as soon as you think you could. More lava. Again, I don't know how well it reflects on the playback of the videos, but the directional audio when you're playing with headphones is particularly good. It gives you a good idea of where the sounds are coming from around you. So there we go. You know, there were a couple opportunities along the way to kind of explore this, but maybe this will give us a reason to pop back down again, particularly if we see anything good. Oh, that was almost a disaster. So we've got so much dirt from our farms. I'm just going to toss that. And as you saw, lava works pretty well when you're trying to manage your inventory. You can drop stuff into it and it will just burn up, with one notable exception that we'll come to later. But most things don't survive a dip in lava, ourselves included, unless we take some more precautions. Clearly, we're about to use up this pick, but while we're down here, I'm just trying to get a little bit better visibility. We've got a big cave over on this side of this lava lake. We've got a couple patches of redstone, and that gold is always nice. We may come back to explore it. What I was hoping, obviously, to see is some more diamonds. So we're just going to kind of work our way out here a little bit and see if we can see any diamonds that may ultimately get us back down here for more mining, or how far that cave goes. But what I'm doing here is just the quick dumping of water technique, and this creates obsidian, the same stuff that makes those broken nether portal gateways that we see out around the world. This is obsidian, and some of it occurs naturally underground, but you can make it by dumping water onto lava. If you just pour your bucket onto it, you won't get anything, but if you pour it next and let it flow over the lava itself, it will convert. Now, if we just empty our bucket and walk away, it will spread out like a waterfall or a spring underground, kind of like that water over there, and will flow over a large area, which is not, can be nice, particularly if you want a whole bunch of obsidian pretty quickly. But it will also take away the light that we've got from this lava. So I like to go with just a quick dump and pick. It will spread in any of the lava directions that it can flow. So as we move forward, we just get this nice little 3-wide path. And that is going to allow us to move around down here without having to do a bunch of mining, since our pick is low. We could grab that gold. I like that possibility, but I also wonder if there may not be anything better around. Grab instead. So here a spring, or what is just a water source underground, has flowed naturally across the dirt where it emerged and found some of that lava and made a little bit of natural obsidian. We're just going to shut that down. We're far enough away from home. I don't anticipate this will ever become a real attraction or anything we perpetually use. Although, with the extent of the lava, this could ultimately become a nice little lava or obsidian quarry for us, which will have a couple of uses for in the pretty near term. So we were able to get that gold. We got lots of iron, lots of gold, an almost broken pick, and those diamonds that we found so early on. So I think we're gonna call this one nice. And oops, as we walk back here, I am going to just take a quick sip of my drink. That's good. Nice, hot, relatively fresh coffee. It's made up two mugs, those kind of traveling style mugs, right before we started. One I've got here next to me, and the other is sitting back in the kitchen. I use the they're kind of like cup top brewers, as opposed to a big coffee maker, which I don't have counter space for really in this in my smaller kitchen, since I do like to cook and kind of premium that space. But what we do have, or what I do enjoy, is the option to grind beans of coffee, and even 30 years ago, the ability to find whole bean coffee was a little more challenging, which is ironic because way back when people had coffee in the Americas, that was how you got it. It was the only way it would keep to distribute out to the much smaller and kind of remote communities around the country when there weren't complex trucking systems or trains or anything like that to ship things quickly. And coffee had already come from other parts of the world on ships. When it got to local distribution, they would just put the beans in casks or barrels or bags or what, however. I don't know exactly how they loaded them up, but they would come and you would have a hand mill to grind those up into the grounds that you could run water through and make a cup of coffee. So I like to have my own grinder. I don't use it all the time. In fact, mostly I use pretty unremarkable bulk coffee. Just the big cans that you can find at the grocery store, and I will then add just a little bit to the top of a filter of either some flavored coffee or maybe something that's a little stronger and more flavorful, to add a little bit to my cups when I have them and enjoy it that way. So it's a little insight, but yeah, I've got one here that I just enjoyed a sip of, and another ready to go between episodes maybe. So again, we got 8 diamonds out of that. Not quite as many as we might have hoped for, but not the end of the world. And since it is 8, that works perfectly to make us a nice diamond shirt. Now, our helmet and our boots had kind of worn down a little bit more. And let me get this crafting thing out of the way so we can see a little bit better. And I'll talk for just a second. Again, maybe common knowledge for everybody, but for those who don't, the reason to opt for the chest plate is we have a 6 armor when we wear iron, and we get a full 8 plus 2 armor toughness when we put it on our legs. Now our helmet and our boots don't give us that same amount, and they're cheaper to remake out of iron a second time than just using up lots of extra iron. So these two are clearly going to break down a lot less quickly. They hold up better out in the field. Eventually they'll wear down a little bit, but by the time they really get down, we can either enchant those directly, or as I more often do, I'll just start fresh. By the time we really get to enchanting and making our top tier sets of armor and weapons and tools and all that, we'll have plenty of diamonds, I would imagine. So those things won't become quite as important. And along the way, if we need to give these just a stopgap patch, because we're probably not going to do a ton of enchanting on them directly, we can just put a spare diamond onto them using an anvil and repair them up that way. So not too bad. Again, we've got our pants here for nostalgia's sake, and this again highlights why to use those diamonds on a shirt when you have them available. Here, our iron leggings are 5 armor, right? And as we just talked about, our diamond leggings are 6 with 2 armor toughness. So we definitely get an improvement, but we get a 2 armor improvement using that. And it's reflected down here just by having our diamond shirt instead of our iron shirt. We we don't show any difference. Oh yeah, we do. We get a whole extra shirt. So 2 accounts to 2 halves of that shirt. When we switch our boots, we'll get another half, and when we switch our helmet, we'll get 1 more after that. So that will completely fill up our armor bar, which we never can do wearing iron alone. We'll obviously be too short there, or 2.5 with the legs, I think. So definitely good to get those 2 pieces switched out as quickly as possible. Obviously, if your needs or what you found say that you have enough to make a pair of boots earlier, just go ahead and do it. Get this diamond gear going. I will maintain that having that diamond sword early is my top priority, and I won't make any iron until I've got that set. But with that exception, I'll just mix and match what pieces I have and go. So we'll have a full stack of iron. That's going to cook for quite a while. Here we've just got 10 pieces of iron, and we'll switch that out for the gold as soon as it's done. So we'll have both there. Again, while we're still short on a lot of things, we're very long on coal, but as is often the case, just as we really fill up, we've got need for more torches, and we'll get a little space back there, moving those over in our chest. So more flint. Again, when we get our chickens going, we'll have some feathers and can make our own arrows to go through there, and that's something we want to get to. But again, we've been so heavy on the farming element in the last few episodes that I'd really prefer mining mixed with a very healthy dose of adventure today. So here we go. Let's get our picks replenished. So we have a full batch of those, and we're also going to make that new hat and boots. So now we don't have to worry that these others are getting worn down too much. That'll give us plenty of durability. Again, we probably could have done a full couple episodes with these two, even with the amount of wear that they had. But we can let the others wear down and, switch them back and forth until we get those diamonds and eventually replace them that way. But for now, we're well set. I think our biggest concern here is we may have to dump a few of these. And why don't we just do a bit of this so you guys can see? This isn't rocket science and certainly not a tutorial, but when you have some of these items in big amounts, you can convert them into blocks, like the gold. We'd shown that one. So rather than sitting with a chest just filling to the brim of coal, we now have, a stack. And once we get enough, we'll split that between our two chests. We can pull the little pieces back. The only drawback in using blocks is each block will cook a large number of items. So until you get to the point of really doing full stack cooking, you're more likely to waste coal as you go. But since we were underground, and even though I just said we've been a little too farming focused, we want to just go through here quickly and flip what we've got for everything but our melons. And again, a little bit of waste, but I'm not too concerned. We have so much growth and are already far enough ahead of the game that we'll just take those benefits that we got and put them to good use. So the wheat here that we're starting with, we can flip into more cows. We're already well set on steak resources, but we will keep wanting some leather, and we'll want the experience that we get from breeding and then harvesting those cows that we have. So again, the long straight fields make this as quick as possible, and it's not. Hopefully, it doesn't get too exciting. It may, but we don't particularly want that. Well, this is the trade-off that you have when you're getting started and you want those resources and you want the benefits of robust trading with villagers. You want to have what I hope will be most of the valuable enchantments available for trade at their top level. Getting this early supply of emeralds ready to go is going to be a big help. To that end, it's just a matter of building up our stocks of these trade items now, and then when we eventually build a little community of villagers, we'll put all those pieces together. So yeah, that's a nice batch more wheat. I think we still have a couple stacks, and I'll say that and prove myself wrong, but I think we are still fairly well set on wheat over by the cows. So we're already building up a nice excess, and our potatoes as well. We're doing pretty good. I can't recall, and we'll probably find out before the comments are up, but whether we'd already done a stack of baked potatoes just to have one or not. At the moment, one of the reasons why this is obviously since we didn't finish seeding all the potatoes yet. So, nope. And I don't know why I'm so quick to skip the replanting. It's just so much fun to harvest. You see those potatoes kind of going in a bow wave in front of you, sprinting through the fields. It's pretty fun, but we do want to make sure that we keep these growing. And again, this will clearly be our first full harvest of potatoes, and will hopefully net us a stack that we can use when we're done with our gold and iron to just give us, we made the pumpkin pie in one of the previous episodes. It's nice to have a little variety of the different foods back at home, and as we've talked about with the advancements and things, that's just one more. You want to keep plugging away at the varieties of foods that you can eat, and it's sometimes nice just to, even for your own in-game enjoyment, to have a little variety in your diet. You don't want to always eat steak. That would pretty quickly lead to some health issues, I would imagine. So better by far to mix it up. And with our carrots and our potatoes and our pumpkin pie that we started, we can do just that. So I know we'd already inadvertently snacked on a few raw potatoes in a previous episode, but we got one more there. When I'm doing a lot of the harvesting stuff. So poisonous potato here. Ultimately, we'll have to eat one of those two. It will give us poison, but it's not major. I've always wondered what is kind of jokingly, what were they thinking when they made poisoned potatoes? While they're, it's a novelty, and you'll easily grow your supply of them through farming. Other than having to eat one for an advancement, they don't seem to have a whole lot, and I always wonder if maybe there was a reason or an intent to make a potion with them or something like that. Sometimes, items just get added to add a little bit more interest, and that's cool too. It is interesting. I don't know that I've ever really exceeded a full stack, even when I keep turning over fields. There just aren't that many of them, but I've always wondered why isn't there a use? Why can't we do something with those? I could do something. Could we? And there are some new varieties of arrows. They're not that new anymore. This isn't a new version, and it wasn't from the 16.5 release anyway. But Minecraft has introduced some forms of arrows, so you can have different types in the Java edition of the game. And I thought, maybe you could make a poison to dip your arrows in with the poison potato, some kind of a crafting thing that would make that poison transferable. But to this point, I haven't found it, and I will be the first to admit, particularly in things like Minecraft, I've been a big fan over the years of the wiki. Prior to the addition of the crafting book, or the recipe book, in your little inventory tab, the one that we just closed up, that helps to validate how you actually put together the pieces to make some of the various items in the game. But I don't find it the most beneficial. To me, it leaves, hiccups. Leaves a little bit to be desired, in that it's sometimes tough to track down an item that you want to build if you don't know the exact name and some level of complexity that I haven't figured out. That sometimes things will appear and sometimes they don't seem to. Even though there's the red telling you that you don't have all the resources, it would appear that at times you don't know how to make stuff until you've gotten some level of composite pieces or something. So I don't fully get it, and have used the wiki over the years. when you get to the point of working on some of the advancements until you've, become a part of a community where you've got other players that can help answer questions or share things. The wiki is really essential to advancing a little bit. And when if you are one of those people that really likes to automate things and grow, in order to make a lot of those things work, you have to understand, if it's a mob that you're trying to farm, what are the conditions that they spawn in? You need to know exactly the light levels, the heights, min and max, before you build a big structure designed to focus on them. You want to know what it is you're trying to accomplish before you throw a lot of time at it. So, yeah. Definitely recommend that as a resource. But it's nice, as you get more comfortable in any game, you begin to find that you don't need to rely on those things quite as much. You've got a certain play style, you've used it for a while, and a lot of the recipes become familiar. So that's where I find, if I have a question, I'll sometimes go and look things up in an off period. I don't typically have any of those things up while I'm playing a game. I'd rather enjoy my time and then finish and go, find answers to things I encountered along the way. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind if you've encountered issues or aren't sure why something happened around a game or this game. Just go and check out the wiki. See if you can put it together if you read the entry on the particular mob or crop or functionality that you're trying to achieve. So here we go. We got, as you saw there, we bred a couple little pigoos, got them set. I don't know that I'd done that yet, but since I had carrots, I wanted to give them a chance and get them done for our advancement. This is now done, as I expected, so we've got our chance to cook more gold, and yeah, we got our stuff done, our big stack of iron done as well. Now, we'll just take a quick look. Yeah, I hadn't made any baked potatoes yet, although seeing those carrots, I may have already done the pigs. That may have been a repeat, but oh well, one more pig in the world. So I just brought over a couple carrots. You can't cook carrots themselves. Eventually, we can put gold and sort of like the apples, make a golden carrot. It only requires nuggets, so it's not quite as powerful, but it's a good supplemental food to have, and one that will certainly make just to have eaten it. But yeah, we got a good little stock. Let's keep that wheat there and go see what we've got with our cows here. We're getting close to our planned adventure, I think, but these are our chores. We got to do our chores each day just to make sure that we keep things moving in the right direction. So we'll jump on into the fray here with our cows. And as you can see, when we have a food that an animal likes, if it's carrots for pigs or seeds for chickens or wheat when it comes to cows, they will get interested, and that was how we led a lot of those guys over here when we didn't have them attached to leads. We just had them follow us based on their attraction to the wheat in our hand. If you say this bucket of water in my inventory, if you look down the bottom of the screen, is wheat. If you select it, all the animals will turn and look at you. If you then pop away, they'll freeze or lose interest. And if you go back to it, like now, it takes them a moment to actually regain their interest or relocate that food source. So that can be handy in managing them, particularly when you've got a large field like that. If you still have some left over after you've fed, it's a good way to kind of get in and out of your gates until you practice that a lot without half your cows making a jailbreak and running for the field. So even if you do find that a couple get out at times, not that big a deal. They're largely going to wander in the vicinity, and once they get hungry again, just get some more appealing food, open up two of the gates, and lead them back, and kind of pull everyone that's already inside back with you, and that should allow you to then swing around the group and get them back inside. So while I was like, didn't we just make an axe? I could have sworn. We're at it. We've planned and talked and enjoyed. I'm gonna grab our Silk Touch. I want that in case we happen to encounter one of the giant tree biomes and can snag up some podzol. It's going to limit a little bit what we're getting, but we're not planning on going mining particularly. We just want to see what's out there, really. We've got a bed. I don't think we need anything that's currently in our no. Would be real nice, buddy, if you came back up here. Maybe you drop one of those enchanted pieces. Oh, of course not. You drop zombie flesh. Great way to start our adventure. Oh well, it's worth a couple whacks with a sword. I think we've already gotten a few. Well, we did fishing early, so I think we've got our fish from there. But we're just gonna go on our boat now. This is kind of where we'd re-emerged from our donkey village trip. We popped out here and then wrapped around this little bay on land to come back. And it's not looking good for our first idea, which was that maybe we could just, by boat, zip right on into the village and have access to our friends. But we're going to take this opportunity just to see what we have around, and pushing up streams to find the land. We know there's another ocean out in the further distance that way, and sometimes you get lucky and your rivers connect. Other times they just kind of peter out, like this one seems to be. And a lot of times we're gonna run into this kind of stuff where you get a loop and you get some dry spots in between. I think we even talked about it already. If you find that a river you're exploring does that, but goes somewhere that you really want to frequently visit, you can go through and clear those out and actually make them effectively highways for yourself. But in the exploration mode like we're in right now, you just break your boat, pick it up, hop over the dirt. It's kind of portaging. For anyone that's done any longer distance canoeing, that's a familiar rite of passage where to connect between various lakes. It was the fur traders in the northern central U.S. states and Canada that did a lot of exploration of the interior of the continent in search of furs, and then each summer would return to the Great Lakes area by canoe with all of the pelts that they'd managed to gather. and would trade those in for the supplies that they needed to keep living for another season out on their own. They certainly, were at the mercy of the companies that sent them out there and ran those camps. Usually they kind of worked on a debt system where the company gave them their initial stuff kind of for frighteningly similar to the cell phone model of today. Oh yeah, come on in, we'll give you a phone that we've decided the price is the amount that used to get you a small car or used car, and but yeah, you're gonna pay for it over the life of the phone until we decide that we're gonna upgrade it to be obsolete and make you get a new one, and we'll then charge you for a service along the way. You're sure that may help you in your job. It may be a tool that you need, but at the same time, it's kind of making sure that you never get clear of that. You're never just run around on your completely independent owned cell phone that you don't have to pay a bill for. And so the whole time that those guys were out gathering furs, the dry ingredients that they would use for food, although certainly they did a lot of hunting and gathering. They were alone in largely untapped wilderness, so there was lots of opportunity for them to feed and clothe themselves just based on natural resources around. But they were trying to be efficient too. They were there for a purpose, to gather furs for selling, and when you're trying to do a job, you're trying to do it without a whole lot of extra time spent on the stuff that's not making you money. So, when you've got to go find supplies every day, or locate food, you're not going to be doing the stuff that you're getting paid to be there for. So the good traders and things, would selectively buy supplies at the same time that they were kind of trying to pay down their debt to the company store and get back. So while we were talking there, we were harvesting some dark oak, and I do like this forest type. It's a little more dangerous. It's very mixed. There's small regular oak trees and birch trees intermixed throughout, along with some giant mushrooms. And maybe, I don't want to get too lost in here, but since we're early, and I don't know that we've gathered up either of them, and one of my recent longer term worlds was based in this dark forest, so I'm not real wild about just building a home here or anything like that. We'll see. Over time, it may become something we want to do, because I really do like the big trees and the style of it. But for now, we'll just go ahead and chop down some of those cool looking giant mushrooms. So we got some reds now, and if we can find a brown mushroom as well in this little area, we'll have a little supply of the two mushrooms. That's why I wasn't sure if we'd already gotten some, and it's kind of tickling my brain that maybe we have already gotten some brown mushrooms in one of the taigas that we visited. So here you hear there are enough trees and enough high canopy that... Oh, we got a creeper in the mix too. They love it in here. Okay, that makes us a little more confident. Now, again, we want to maybe get him to drop a bow with some enchantment, but at the least we got a couple more arrows. So trying to keep track, we kind of popped over a little mountain there, our bay, and we fortunately grabbed our boat. It is back beyond that ridge, so that's kind of the way home. But as is the case, you start wandering, you kind of go, oh man, I want to go there. What's around that bend? What's over that hill? And you keep going and going and going, and the next thing you know, you're a long way from home. And that's why when we started this episode, I wanted to make extra sure that I just jotted down the coordinates of our base. So at least we have a general idea which way to head when we get done with this adventure. I want to start heading back home. Now, unfortunately, this mushroom is kind of hanging over a cliff, so a lot of what we just chopped may have dropped. But we did okay. We've got, there's a few more. We got a good enough base of both red and brown mushrooms, and when we get back home, we can make up some mushroom stew, which we talked about, like the rabbit stew. So one sec here, as long as we're not about to get attacked. Here we go. That coffee. Got a little hazelnut in there today. Tastes real good. We saw a bee in the distance when we first woke up, and I wouldn't mind, now that we're out, we didn't for science the couple of bee nests right around Donkey Village, as we're going to call it, when we were on our journey and first found the shovel. But the further away we get, the more willing I am, and I'm going to resist the urge to grab sugarcane. I would love it. We do want to start up those larger growing operations as well, but with limited carrying capacity, I don't think that's what we need to be jamming our pockets with here. So, continuing our exploration of some new biomes, we've now got a swamp. Swamps are primary, and I'm just kind of looking back. Let's know that we're heading northwest, facing south. East goes back to that dark forest that we'd come from, and you can just see in the distance, those are the mountains that extend kind of around the large bay that we now know is where we built our home on that high plain. So very cool to get to know our environment a little bit. But yeah, we've got a swamp here, and we had talked about it when we were starting our farm. But one of the things in swamps that a lot of people still have a lingering distaste for in Minecraft is the lily pad. Way, way, way long ago, it used to be that there was a bug behavior where if you were going around in your boat and you hit these Minecrafts and in the watery sections of a swamp, you're gonna hit my lily pads. They're just everywhere. Well, it used to be if you hit them with any speed or hit the shore with any speed, you could just randomly explode. Bye-bye world, no warning, just massive explosion, done. I only ran into that once, but it was in a world I was so excited about. I think it was relatively early in the introduction of the jungle biomes, and one of the first that I'd either found or spawned in back when worlds didn't last too terribly long. I'd played for a while at that point, but I was still kind of, getting some proficiency in the game, and more often than not, learning by experience what not to do. Well, I I found myself in a jungle, and jungles can be tough starting areas. They have lots of undergrowth, lots of creepers. Like the dark forest, they have a high tree canopy, so they're kind of dark. They can spawn mobs throughout the day even. And they're easy to fall into holes between all the low bushes and trees and that kind of stuff, so you can get stuck and have a creeper, come down on top of you. It's tough to see things approaching. For a lot of reasons, they're really fun biomes, but they're dangerous. Well, I'd found one and I'd successfully kind of hacked and clawed my way into a base and was as comfortable at that point as I'd been in the game. I was making it and feeling like I had a real chance. And I finally, after just kind of doing the stuff we've done, but much more slowly, and in the jungle, you have to first clear everything before you can level it, and do all those kind of things. But I'd made some fields and I'd tamed some animals. I think had a little complex of a house and at least a cow or pig field and some wheat, if not a few other things. I don't remember exactly, but I'd done all that, got in my boat, and said, okay, I'm like this trip. I'm gonna go out and do some exploring, see what's out there in the world, and I spotted in the distance something that I hope we find here, a jungle temple, which was brand new, and I'd never seen one before, and I was so excited. It was kind of tucked out under the vine. Jungles have lots of these vines that grow in swamps and jungles, and it was right on the edge of the lush wall of the jungle, and I was thrilled to find it, and just heading over to go see it, riding in my boat, approaching the coastline, and boom, I was dead. Death screen. What happened? And sure enough, I'd clipped it's either a little single block shore out in the water or a lily pad, but it blew up my boat right out from under me, and that was the sad end to that world. And I at that time, it was a long time before I found my next jungle temple, and I hadn't even been inside it. I was quite saddened to have missed that opportunity, and to feel that it wasn't that I got careless or sloppy. It was that something buggy had happened that people knew about, but I hadn't until that point, and lost the opportunity. So again, this is just kind of feel as we ferry around in our boat here. Ironically, for a person who just commented that we didn't have, ooh, you see what I see? Did you see it? I'm not going to turn back quite yet. I'm gonna ask, did everybody catch out of the corner of their eye what we got over deeper in the swamp? Anyway, what I was on the brink of saying was, for saying we're not having room for sugarcane, here I am tooling around getting stacks of lily pads. Why on earth are we doing that? Well, I want the lily pads for our farm. And I'd mentioned it at one point in the building episodes that you can use stairs or planks, slabs to keep the water channels wet and irrigating the area, but also not make them where you're going to fall in, or the stuff that you're harvesting is going to drop into the water. It used to be more of a deal. It used to be that, if you're harvesting carrots and you go shooting down the road like I do, some of those carrots would fall into the water. And until very recently, they would sink. There it is again. Did you see it that time? We're getting closer, but I want to get... Okay, we're good here. We'll end the suspense. Everybody catch the little golden dark there in the distance? Yeah, we got another broken another portal here with at least 2 gold blocks. And lots of magma, so our toes may get a little toasty. What I don't see here, and what I'd really... There it is. So this is what we really want at this point. Obviously, we're going to get the gold blocks too, but we want to see what, if any, treasures we can find here. Just to wrap up, though, we want 3 full stacks of lily pads to cover the irrigation channels in our fields. We can walk up and down them then, cross from field to field without any concerns about potentially having to get back out of the water. It's much easier now than it used to be. The items that fall in will float to the surface, and so if you just walk near them, they will jump into your inventory just like they would off the ground. So that's less of a concern, but definitely, I just like it. It's something I've done for a long time, and I like having the kind of, natural feel rather than just, yeah, look, my water has stairs in it, so I can walk in and out of it. Yeah, well, mine's a little more natural. It's got stuff. So, got a golden apple. That's really nice. We don't even have to take up another space. We've got what I hope are enough nuggets here we can actually make a golden melon and not quite a... Ooh, look at that. So mending is what we have to wait on for villager trades. It's kind of a false get your hopes up. Without any unbreaking, it's gonna erode so quickly that I don't even think a gold pick with it is worth hanging on to just for the sake of having it. I guess what we can do is add it. It can, like the leather helmet that we've got. It's got an enchantment. We can break that down for a little bit more experience as we go. So I'd like to keep a couple extra lily pads just in case we have holes or anything like that, but I don't know that it's worth holding a whole lot extra. Mainly what I wanted from the Darkwood was the saplings, and we got those, so I'll put the extra log. We'll take a stack. It's nice to have just some Darkwood, but we can start growing back at home now and eventually get more of those ourselves. Dark oaks are nice because they don't require podzol. They naturally grow larger in their own environment, and it's been so long since I've grown them myself. It'll be fun to see. I don't remember if you just plant one sapling, does it grow up in a different shape, or does it go with the big 4 wide tree, or do you have to put all 4 saplings together? So we'll play with that a little bit, and we may, in fact, I'm going to leave the fire charges here. We'll get more. I don't particularly use them a whole lot as we go, so we'll get more before we ever need them, really. Typically I'm going to dump mushrooms and things like that, but I just wanted to get a little bit of this variety as we go. So I think that does it. We'll grab our... Oh, boy. Don't look in the chest and spend too much time talking before you realize you're wide awake in the middle of the night in a swamp. It's when all the baddies come out. So before we go, we're going to get Hotfoot here, but we want to get these 2 gold blocks. We can't even do anything with the Obsidian, so yeah, we've already, not that I would ever call finding lily pads a particularly exciting outcome, but we did some exploring, we got some variety, and I think what this is, if my hunch is right, and all this may connect, but I think this is going to show that we kind of cut off another thrust of land, and ooh, that's kind of cool. Look at that. Got some trees growing under a big rock overhang. Water goes right up inside. There's probably a good pack of mobs up in that open cave, but very cool. That's a nice little feature. We mentioned not too long ago, in recent days, Mojang announced that they are breaking up the upcoming release, the Cliffs and Caves, into two pieces, one this summer and one next holiday season. So it will be interesting to see how they break it. Are there pieces of mountains and underground stuff in both, or do they focus on one in one release and then one in the next? Who knows? But so we started out that way, kind of cut across a little bit of a land bridge. We know land goes significantly out that way. Found our swamp, found our dark forest, and are that much the better for it. So in the spirit of discovery, I'm just going to put down one of those saplings and leave it alone. And let's see what, if anything, pops from it and what shape it's in. Fingers crossed, the best outcome is that makes a big dark oak tree like the ones we just cut down. Then we can just spread out these other three and start really getting some of that wood. Look at that Enderman. If you picked up something out of my field, if you're carrying around a dirt block from somewhere else and you're just checking things out, you're more than welcome. Hi, it's fun to see you. But I don't want to find holes in my fields. So this is what I was talking about with just covering up our irrigation ditches with lily pads. We can walk on them. They're pretty nice. I haven't found the trick to aligning them. I think you can, just break and reset, and the direction that the little Pac-Man looking shape faces is random. So I think, with enough diligence, you can make everyone point in the same direction on your whole thing. But I put you guys through enough just making these fields. Let's not make it any worse, eh? But it's not too much more effort to have just a little bit of finishing on our fields here. And like I said, the functional need is far reduced now that even if when you're harvesting an item or two drops into those channels, it won't be overly difficult to retrieve. It used to be that hey, look, there's a couple carrots in the water there. I need those. You'd have to jump in and then slowly walk all the way down the water to one end or the other and hop out there, because if you jumped out of the water and landed on your irrigated dirt, you'd just turn it back to this regular dirt, and you got to go get a hoe and start all over again. Nobody wants to deal with all that. So we are now all lily padded up. I think we'll throw these lily pads in. Let's put them in the melon boxes. Until we get silk touch on an axe, we're not going to harvest melons. So we'll always, and even when we get going, having two chests on those is overkill from the start, because even when we're at our max growth, those will trade out to our villagers pretty quickly and never really build up a massive surplus unless we just stand looking at our fields, watching them grow, and then go from there. nothing yet on our tree. And the reason why I haven't planted the others, we can obviously, now that we know where the dark forest is, it's out beyond those mountains. We could go back, take down a bunch of trees, and eventually we'll have a whole stack of saplings, and we could put up 4 together and see if that's the trick. But it can take a while for trees to pop anyway. So we'll let it do its thing. The next big thing that I want to do, and I've talked about it a lot, is we absolutely need to get going on sugarcane production. We badly need to have it in big numbers, and the biggest challenge here is that we got a lot of depth around, and we can counter that with dirt. It will make some underwater caverns. We've already got one down there, and if we had some respiration, we could actually go underwater caving. Right now, we'd run out of air so quickly that we'd really struggle to stay alive. We could go down. We could put a piece of dirt, get an air hole eventually by carving up to where there wasn't a water source block. But that's a lot of risk for not a lot of reward at the moment. So before we just decide that's where we're gonna go, let's just take a tour of our little coast here and see if anything is particularly more appealing. Let's just random sand. And we'll definitely use the contours. We could go across and we'll take down some of the sand that we've got around to make it a little easier to access. But as I said early on, I don't want to completely change the shape of our home. We chose this high plane in part because it's big and imposing, and it looks cool. And this is the other area that I'm really considering strongly. I think this may be the side. For one thing, it's between us and our spruce forest. We could do some nice things with expanding this out, getting more of a causeway, and maybe a little footbridge or something on this river. I think we checked it. Yeah, this river doesn't go real far, so I'm not even really opposed to blocking out this whole area. But I think that this bay would be a pretty good spot to start laying out and expanding our soon-to-be vastness of sugarcane. And this, pretty equidistant, one side or the other. But what I'm thinking is I don't want to have to constantly listen to the Guardian Temple noise, that type noise, each time I harvest any sugar. So we're going to get some experience here. We got baked potatoes. Watch that 38. We got about half of what was left, and we got some gold and got another nice little chunk. So we'll keep our gold ingots. We got our blocks. We certainly could make some more gold apples, but I want to use these nuggets, as we said, just to demonstrate that this is how we get one nice golden carrot. So it doesn't tell. The wiki is where I would typically go to verify what the exact effects are. I think that the golden carrot may help visibility too. I mean, the carrot idea. It's kind of like old cartoons. That was, oh, look at that. We had a few more. So let's also, just for the sake of demonstration, get a glistering melon slice. So we've made our 3 different gold encrusted food types. Now, I don't even think we can actually eat this this glistering melon. If I recall correctly, it is only for crafting. And I may be wrong there, as you can probably tell by the tone of my voice. I'm not certain on that one. But the other thing that we wanted to do after our gathering was demonstrate the old superfood mushroom stew. And we talked about this. Mushroom stew rivals steak in terms of saturation of food and healing. It's very, very robust and helpful. But as you can see right here, the drawback of it is that you end up, while the ingredients are fairly compact, you end up with unstackable good food. And in the very, very early days of Minecraft, that wasn't a big deal because there wasn't nearly the stacking that we see and are used to today. A lot of things didn't stack it. And some of this even goes back to predate when I had actually played and was in some of the early videos that I discovered and was watching, where I think feathers maybe didn't stack. I think from fairly early on the flesh stacked, but again, it wasn't while I was actively playing, so I don't have first-hand experience, but a lot of things back in the very early game didn't have the same stacking, and a lot of the complexity that we think of with Minecraft today just didn't exist. You ended up being more nomadic. You ended up, and again, not 100% certain, but I believe that animals would respawn much like mobs would. So as you were, once animals had really come along and started populating the world, you could just go through and harvest, and you didn't have to do the breeding. They would just come back. Now, if we kill all the cows on our little peninsula here, that's it for cows. We got to go find some and bring them back to repopulate. They won't just pop up in our world. So we don't want to waste it, but we can manage that easily enough by doing the same breeding and feeding and harvesting that we have. So we've got a very robust growing stock of foods here. We'll try to remember to snack on some of those as we go along. Maybe we'll just throw in some of these baked potatoes now, since we've carried steak for a little bit. And we mentioned early on in this episode that we had a couple of different items we've collected just for the sake of harvesting EXPE from their experience. And maybe during this nighttime cycle is a good opportunity to showcase what I'm talking about there. So the first thing that we want to do, and this you really can't justify until you've got a good supply of coal, but we certainly, of everything we got the most coal. So we're going to cook a stack of cobble, and as you can see, it is going to create stone blocks as we go. And I'm going to wait, not that this is any less exciting than harvesting lily pads, but we're going to hold and get 3 chunks of stone, and then we'll let it do its thing. So 3 is what we wanted. And we're going to come back over here and we're going to make a stone slab. You get 6 of them for the 3 pieces. Makes sense, right? 3, chop them in half. That's effectively what we were doing. We're then going to take wood chunks and sticks, and with our stone, I can see if I recall the right configuration. Nope, I always get it backwards. Oh, now what am I doing? There we go. So this is a grindstone. In the Village and Pillage update a while back, they introduced a number of new tools to complement the workbench and the furnace, which have been in-game for as long as I can recall, if not longer. But these grindstone is one of the ones that I've used most regularly since that update. There are a number, and they associate with the professions of villagers. Some have functions I do and don't use based on their. Okay, I can still open that. Their individual functionality. Like I don't tend to be a big blast furnace guy. Sorry to those who swear by them, but unless you're really doing bulk cooking, it's easier, like the farms, to just let your furnace go. You're not going to consume fuel as quickly, and in the long run, you spend less time setting up an operation just to fuel your blast furnaces than you do to just put coal in your regular ones and let things cook while you're doing other things. Anyway, personal preference. The reason why we wanted to build the grindstone is for disenchanting, and when we really get our enchantment operations set up, we'll be using these a lot more regularly. But for now, all we want to do is just pull the enchantment off of this leather cap. Like I said, we're never going to use it. It's weaker already than what we've already got on, and just having a protection one doesn't do anything with it. So instead of just throwing it away or leaving it on the ground, we'll get a little bump of our XP. So look down here and you'll see the little jump, and this one isn't a heavy enchantment, so it's not going to be earth shattering, but you'll see a little growth. So here we go. Boom. And as you see, it jumped up. We'll do the same thing with the gold pick here. Not expecting it to jump our level, but it did. That was a heavy enchantment, the mending, and so we got a big bump, and that was why I wanted to bring that one back. And again, mending is a great enchantment. It will be the one that will actually endure quite a bit of villager work, getting a large trading operation set up just so that we can have mending for everything. But it also, when it's applied singly to a gold axe like that, it doesn't really give us back any value. Our gold or our iron axes, as they are going to hold up much longer than that axe, and with mending, the only way to keep it constantly restoring its health would be just to use it on redstone or coal. And frankly, we can use that experience more efficiently now by gathering it to apply to enchanting. So that's why I burn those. I think I don't know what we left in that chest, if anything. And I'm just peeking out the windows here. And remind me, we're going to take an episode break here because I know it's getting long. I don't think we ever really cleaned this up. I got some various goodies in here. I think we're just going to switch this into a random gear box. When we find we want to, we can start throwing those onto a cactus trash can, but not, frankly, at the top of my priorities at the moment. So and maybe we had done this early on to try to get more space back here, but we've definitely crafted more stuff in there, so it's better to have everything in a single spot. And I think that was just as we were building our house, we hadn't had it. So we'll do a quick bit of cleaning here, get everything back in its proper homes, and now we do have a space to dump a few disenchanted items, just general stuff that's going to pile up. And when we go venturing in a desert at some point, we'll grab a couple pieces of cactus, bring those back, create a disposal system. And, we could carry all that down to the lava, throw it in there, and it would go away as well. It's not bad, but frankly, it'll be a part of the our enchanting experience build anyway. So all in good time, and just having a chest to throw it in for now is kind of the path of least resistance. Still not seeing our dark tree spawn, but when we come back, we'll continue to monitor that and keep trying to make a little bit more progress. I'm glad we found that dirt, though. That having that much more is really going to help us maybe push to expanding that sugar farm. So take a quick break as the video restarts for you guys as you watch. Be sure to keep up and moving throughout the day. You don't need to constantly be watching, but take nice little breaks inside, go outside, smell the air, see what your weather's doing, and we'll see you back here as soon as you're ready. Thanks so much, and have a great few minutes until we start the next one. We'll throw up the slide. Thank you as always for watching, and we'll see you in the next session. Bye for now.